Dodgers team historian, Mr. Mark Landry. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing very well. It's a very exciting day, and who could imagine 50 years to the day that we retired our first 3 uniform numbers? We're having another special day for Gil Hodges.
Unbelievable day here at Dodger Stadium. A special night. Gil Hodges, long overdue, finally gets his jersey retired, and that's because he was finally inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, why do you think it took so many years for him to get the call from the Hall?
Well, he passed away in 1972, and I think what happened was out of sight, out of mind. He's a great player with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He leads the Miracle Mets to the World Series in 1969, but then look what happens in the 1970s. Other ball players become broadcasters. Maybe the voters wanted a podium moment, and he was always right there, but it was kind of like when Roger Maris passed away, and you didn't really see him every day like you would. Let's say he was a television commentator or a coach, and so I think he was always a qualified candidate, but sometimes you see the Pee Wee Reeses and the Duke Snyders and the Don Drysdales, they're still there, and they can still tell stories and everything like that. The other thing that might have hurt him as far as the West Coast, Gil Hodges only played 2 games at Dodger Stadium, so he's not as familiar to LA Dodger fans, unless you remember the days at the Coliseum when the Dodgers won the World Series in 6 games over the Chicago White Sox. So he wasn't the Dodger Stadium icon, but he is an icon in the Dodger franchise. And so I think that's why he's such a big name still in New York. And Dodger fans, it's great. It's just like a Zach Weed or a Dazzy Vance. People need to rediscover the great, great career of Gil Hodges, because he's definitely a retired number, definitely an icon, but also he played a great role in the development of Jackie Robinson and all those boys and summer teams from the 1950s, and also a military hero. We have Gil Hodges Jr. here today, and even though overseas Gil won the Bronze Star, received the Bronze Star for being in Okinawa, Japan, he told his kids that he had a desk job during the war, and so that's the type of low-key guy that Gil Hodges was. He wasn't a self-promoter, and so the quiet man all throughout his career, maybe that hurt his candidacy as far as he wasn't the self-promoter. He didn't really have a nickname either, because if you think of the others, Campy and Pee Wee and Duke, Gil's not a nickname. Gil's his name. It's not
about branding, right?
It's not that poetic, but again, it's a very happy day, and it's a day, honestly, I wasn't sure that I'd ever see. So that's why it's so thrilling for the family. And how great that Joan Hodges, still living in Brooklyn, 95 years old, is able to witness this moment. We're just so happy for the Hodges family.
Yeah, and a lot of people say as great of a player he was an even greater person. Now, when it comes to Gil Hodges, for some of the younger Dodger fans, just how great of a first baseman was he on the field? I know he was the first baseman of his generation, the best first baseman in the league for over a decade, but just how good was he?
He was an absolute natural. Pee Wee Reese used to joke that he has to wear a glove just because that's what the rule says. A fielder has to have a glove. But he had these huge hands, but he was like this gentle giant at first base, and sort of with ballet moves too. It was interesting when the Hodges family came downstairs onto the field, they took the same route as the normal players, and the first thing you see when you go to that dugout level is the Gold Glove and all the other great awards in our history. And the first 3 Gold Gloves won by a Dodger, 1957, 58, and 59, Gil Hodges at first base. Now he starts at that position pretty much full-time in 1948, so just imagine if he was that good at the end of his career to win 3 Gold Gloves, how many more he would have had. Just an absolute natural at first base. And the other great footnote to Gil Hodges, you think about Campanella, you think about Snyder and some of the other great sluggers, he's the only guy to ever hit 4 home runs for the Brooklyn Dodgers in a game, August 31st, 1950 at Ebbets Field against the Boston Braves. So that distinction. In LA, it's Sean Green, the 4 home runs at Milwaukee, and for the Brooklyn Dodger fans, Gil Hodges is the only one that had the 4 home runs.
Unbelievable. Well, he's in now. It's all that matters. Better late than never. Going to be in Cooperstown. That jersey's going to be retired forever. And we just want to thank you very much, Mr. Mark Landry, the world's foremost expert on the Los Angeles and the Brooklyn Dodgers. Thanks for joining us here today.
My pleasure.
For his career, Gil Hodges had a .273 batting average, a .359 on-base percentage, a .487 slugging percentage, and had a career OPS of .846 in 18 seasons. His best season came in 1954. At age 30, 3 Hodges slash 304, 373, 579, had a 952 OPS, and hit a career high 42 home runs and hit 130 RBIs, and he finished 10th in the NL MVP voting. He ranked second among MLB players during the 1950s in home runs with 310 and RBIs with 1,001. He won the first 3 Gold Gloves for first baseman in history, 1957, 1958, and 1959. He was an 8-time All-Star. He hit 30 or more home runs 6 different times and 40 or more home runs twice. He knocked in more than 100 runs 7 times, topping 120 RBIs twice. His 370 home runs are 12th among the 24 first basemen already in the Hall of Fame. From 1948 to 1959, Hodges led all Major League first basemen in home runs, runs batted in, total bases, extra base hits, and OPS. But let me know down below in the comments section, why do you think it took so long for Gil Hodges to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame? Do you think this is long overdue? And also, do you think the Dodgers should relax their policy on players having to have been inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame to get their jersey retired? Of course, I'm talking about Fernando Valenzuela. Do you think that Valenzuela's number 34 should be retired? Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. For all latest Dodgers news, rumors, hype videos, interviews, breakdowns, and more, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.